Small talk is the one social activity that can make a perfectly intelligent woman suddenly question every decision that brought her to this exact moment. Someone says, "So what do you do?" And I'm standing there thinking, how much of my life story do you actually want? And I think that's what makes small talk so exhausting. It's difficult because it asks you to be socially engaged without giving your brain much to work with. There's no real problem to solve, no fascinating idea to unpack, no emotional truth to discover. You're just there, responding, reacting, keeping the little social machine moving. And for women who are highly observant, introspective, or just very selective about where they put their energy, that can feel bizarrely expensive. Because I can have a 2-hour conversation about relationship, psychology, ambition, money, identity, or why we keep repeating the same patterns in our lives and leave feeling energized. But 5 minutes of, "Wow, it's hot today," can have me mentally checking the exits. And no, I don't think that automatically means you're antisocial. In fact, small talk serves a very real psychological purpose. It helps people establish familiarity, signal friendliness, reduce uncertainty, and test the social temperature before getting more personal. Basically, your brain is doing a tiny background security check. Is this person receptive? Are we comfortable? Or can I say a little more? The problem is that when you already know how to read people fairly quickly, that preliminary stage can feel painfully slow. You're ready for chapter 5 and the conversation is still on the acknowledgements page. And then there's the second layer, the self-monitoring. Because now you're not just participating in the conversation, you're watching yourself participate in the conversation. Did that sound awkward? Was that answer too short? Should I ask something back? Why did I just say that? Was that joke funny? Do I look interested? Am I making enough eye contact? Oh, wonderful. Now we're having a conversation with another person and a performance review with ourselves. No wonder it's draining. Research on social interaction and cognitive load supports the basic idea that socializing can require substantial attention, especially when we're monitoring ourselves or navigating uncertainty. But I think there's something else happening that nobody talks about enough. We've been taught to measure social success by how effortlessly we can keep a conversation going. And I reject that. I don't need to be able to entertain every person who happens to stand next to me. I don't need to turn every interaction into instant chemistry. Sometimes a conversation is just a conversation. You say hello, you make a comment, someone laughs, you discover you have absolutely nothing in common. Beautiful, we survived. And honestly, one of the biggest ways to make small talk less exhausting is to stop demanding that it become interesting immediately. Let it be boring for a minute. Let there be a pause. Let yourself answer simply. You don't need to perform enthusiasm just because someone started talking to you. You can be warm without being wildly animated. You can be friendly without oversharing. You can be curious without interrogating someone like you're conducting a psychological study. And if you do want to move past the surface, don't reach for another generic question. Look for the tiny detail that actually interests you. Someone mentions they're moving and suddenly there's something real to ask about. Someone says they're exhausted and maybe you discover what their week has been like. Someone mentions they're learning something new and now you have a thread. Interesting conversations usually happen because somebody follows a thread instead of throwing another question into the void. But also, and I need you to hear me on this, you are allowed to have limits. Sometimes you're tired. Sometimes you've had enough people. Sometimes your brain has absolutely no interest in producing charming little responses for public consumption. That doesn't make you cold. It makes you human with a finite amount of attention. The goal isn't to become the woman who can effortlessly talk to anyone, anywhere, forever. The goal is to become comfortable enough with yourself that you don't need every interaction to go perfectly. You don't need to impress them. You don't need to be fascinating. You don't even need to like the conversation. You can simply be present, be kind, and then let the moment end. Because not every interaction needs to become a meaningful connection. Some conversations are just tiny social bridges. You cross them, you smile, and you keep walking. And honestly, I think that's a much healthier relationship with small talk than pretending you secretly love discussing traffic. Love you no matter what.